Hello, everyone, and welcome back to ArsenalAura. Arsenal have kicked off the Premier League season in the best possible way, a 1-0 win at Old Trafford against Manchester United. I've already shared my instant reaction right after the game, but today we're going just a little bit deeper. Joining me is Joe, also known as That Arsenal Guy, and we'll break down the big talking points. Calafiori's goal, Zubimendi's performance, some defensive concerns, Gyokeres' first start, and of course, what this result means in the bigger picture for Arsenal's season. So let's jump straight in. Thank you so much, Joe, for joining in.
No worries. Glad to be here as ever.
Yeah, glad to have you. So, great result, questionable performance. Let's dive a little bit deep into this and talk a little bit about Calafiori. So when I made the Manchester United game preview, I didn't know who's going to be playing on the left-hand side. So I went with Lewis-Skelly. That was the only mistake in my first 11 that I predicted. Obviously, Mikel Arteta went with Calafiori. He scored, which is amazing. What did you make of his overall performance?
He was pretty solid, right? I mean, he said it was shaky at the back, some defensive issues. I'm not sure I agree necessarily. I wasn't really that worried at too many points that they were going to score. You know, obviously there was they hit the post from a fairly speculative effort. The left back, I forget his name, and a few other bits. But like, I don't feel like we really got caught out all that much. Sesko didn't cause too many problems. Kuna got through, sure, down Calafiori's side a little bit more than maybe I would have hoped, but I don't think. I think the question you're really asking is, should Miles Lewis-Skelly have played at left back? And I think the answer is no.
I mean, the thing is that I'm not convinced defensively on the left-hand side by none of our left backs, to be completely honest. So we have a couple of left backs, right? Primarily Calafiori and Miles Lewis-Skelly, but they don't seem to be defending well enough. And, the fact that Calafiori started ahead of Miles Lewis-Skelly, does this show you something in Arteta's plans?
I think it's the balance of the defense, right? So if you look at the four main fullbacks, so on the right hand side you got Ben White, who traditionally was, a centre back. So he's very comfortable playing, as we shift when we've got the ball, shifting into sort of that back three. But at the same time, he's actually one of the only fullbacks that overlaps the winger as well. So he's quite versatile. That you could use him as like a third centre back and then have the left back move into midfield, or you could use him as someone who overlaps Saka. Then you've got Timber, who again was of centre back, or in his younger days was centre back and sort of moved into right back, but you can play him left back. He's probably the most versatile of the lot, but he's just not there in terms of the attacking. And then the other side, you've got Miles Lewis-Skelly, who just always inverts, right? So he needs to have a right back on the pitch with him that is going to just defend, right? And then you've got Calafiori, who could overlap, but doesn't really. He seems to make these sort of like diagonal-ish runs from left back to the centre of the pitch quite frequently, which is interesting. It's a different avenue of attack than we've had before. I think it could be quite effective. It hasn't. Well, it wasn't on Sunday, but it's an interesting dynamic. But what it means is that you have to pair them in a certain way depending on the game. Like you wouldn't necessarily want to have, I don't know, Lewis-Skelly and Ben White if you're in a, if you need to defend for a lot of the game, because it doesn't necessarily work. You've got like too many right-footed players on the pitch. You've got Skelly wants to move into midfield. Maybe Ben White's instincts take over and suddenly he's overlapping Saka, and then we've got no one at the back. So yeah, I think it's about the pairings and it's about the matchup.
That's interesting, but who do you think is a better match for Martinelli? Who do you think goes a little bit wider or give Martinelli a better option? Do you think it's Calafiori or do you think it's Miles Lewis-Skelly?
Purely for the just by being left-footed, right? It's Calafiori because Lewis-Skelly drifts inside all the time because he's on his right foot and that's just what he naturally does. Calafiori can overlap and put crosses in. Though we haven't really seen that much. I think that's more of like a tactical thing more than Calafiori doesn't want to do it. But yeah, we've got to bring on left winger, whoever it may be, but generally speaking, Martinelli more into the game. I think Madueke, it's a different story, right? Because Madueke is left-footed and can hit early crosses in, or drive to the byline and put a decent cross in. Martinelli doesn't really have that option.
Yeah, Noni Madueke usually, being a left-footer, as you said, he goes alone in that area where you usually have maybe a left back overlapping. So yeah, for me it's very difficult to identify from the two left backs that we just discussed who is better defensively. Who would you pick as a better defender?
I think they're equally average at defending,
which is not good.
Which isn't ideal, but I don't think I think the team's set up that we don't need them to be super good at defending. I mean, you've got Gabriel on that side of the defense anyway, and he's quite aggressive. So if you look at the kind of the centre backs, you've got Saliba, who's really good like backwards defending, as in running back towards goal and being the last man and stopping a shot, whereas Gabriel kind of is more aggressive early and stops the shots happening in the first place. So like I said, if you've got maybe Timber on the pitch, that back two can become the back three if Lewis-Skelly's moved up or Calafiori's moved up, and then Gabriel's the one making those tackles, which is a much better scenario than having either of those left backs doing it.
Yeah, it's interesting, the Mikel Arteta love for left backs, and he can't get a left back that can be literally a left back. They're all kind of hybrid, and they all have their roles. And I'm not complaining about Miles Lewis-Skelly or Calafiori. I'm just looking at from maybe a little bit of imbalance.
There's a huge amount of imbalance in the team.
Yeah.
But we make up for it in different ways. But yeah, that left back, I don't think we need a traditional left back. The way we play, at least, we don't need a traditional left back, but it does completely cripple our left winger. That's the problem.
Exactly. And, there's a lot of people crying out for a new left winger, not necessarily because of that, but we'll see, if Arteta's plan of playing Noni Madueke there is gonna come to fruition. I had Jordan from AFTV here in one of the episodes, and he said that he thinks after 15 Premier League games, Noni Madueke will be the starter on the left wing position, which it kind of seems we're going that direction, a little bit.
I was about to say the same thing. I was literally going to say by midway through the season, it'll be Madueke, just because, and it's not Martinelli's fault. Like, I think Martinelli's a better player, but I think by being left-footed, a left-footed left winger in our system, it gives you so much more freedom to do what you need to do, which is with a player like Gyokeres as a striker, just get an early ball into the box. Martinelli can't do that. He has to cut inside. Like, he always has to cut inside to play that kind of ball, and he can't do it. And it's, when you've got Ødegaard there anyway, Ødegaard's going to play that ball, or Rice is going to play that ball. So what's the point of having an inverted forward in a place where they can't do anything with it? It is absolutely no wonder that Martinelli can't do anything, because the system makes it so he can't possibly do anything. I think Madueke is a really solid left wing signing. I don't think if we bought an Eze, a Rodrigo, Lookman, Fofana, Leao, anyone, I don't think it makes much difference. It's the system. That's the whole problem.
I think so. And we could see a little bit this. So you you said something about I said something about defensive concerns, and you didn't agree. Now, uh, I saw a lot of people praising the defensive performance and the fact we got a clean sheet, but I thought we were pretty shaky, to be honest. I mean, eh, we there were a lot of misplaced passes. A couple of times I just watched the game live, and uh, our defenders were just panicking a little bit, just passing wayward. It was a little bit chaotic, just hoofing the ball whenever they had the chance. And in the past couple of seasons, the defensive stability was something that you could have watched a game and say, "Hey, we're 1-0 up. It's okay. We got a defensive platform." But do you think this was maybe first game rust, or maybe there's a bigger issue? I don't know, Gabriel being injured or whatever else. To be honest, I didn't like it, and I think it's because we, by playing a little bit sloppy at the back, we made Manchester United look way better than they were. I don't think this Manchester United team should have posed as many problems as they did. Okay, congrats to the team and to the defensive side. They kept a clean sheet, but it wasn't always pretty. What's your take on that?
Okay, I think where it mattered, we made it very difficult for them to like create chances and shoot, basically. So they didn't really have any like really good chances, did they, that I can think of. I think when you're talking about passing, I don't think that's a defensive issue. I think that's a midfield and an attacking issue in that it's not always the fault of the person passing when the pass doesn't go to the right person. It's the fault of the person who should be receiving the ball, right? So I think we're just getting used to this new kind of midfield shape with like, are we playing a double pivot with Rice and Zubimendi, or what are we doing? And then historically, you'd have seen like Havertz really drop deep to get the ball in midfield, right? Like that was quite a common occurrence. Even Marino would do that, right? Because they're both centre midfielders, really. And we obviously didn't have that. And I think Odegaard's been asked to play a bit further up the pitch as well. So I think there were fewer options to pass to. And I think we just need to kind of work out what we're doing with that. Like in terms of the building out from the back, I think there were fewer options for the defenders to pass to, which is why it looked a bit rushed and a bit, because there was a couple of occasions where we ended up sort of passing the ball right across the goal, but almost on the goal line. And I was
Exactly.
like, well, this is ambitious. And it was fine. Like I trust in the player's ability to do that, but I don't, what's the point of creating that risk in the first place, right? Like there's no need, because any tiny mistake and it's just a free goal. So I could see why you were you were calling it shaky, but I think we'll navigate our way out of it. I think Leeds is a really good next game to have, because I think firstly it's the perfect game for Gyokeres to get a goal or three, hopefully. And whilst they're gonna kind of try and rough us up a little, they do also play some half decent football, right? Like they're a good footballing team. So I think our system will just hopefully just completely crush them, right? And we'll get a lot of confidence from that game, because we're going to need it with the games coming up after that.
You said
it's
it.
rough.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. But yeah, you mentioned the midfield. I do hope that it was a one-off. I mean, given the fact that we had a couple of games in preseason, we should be pretty ready. So this game should take us to at least 50-60%. And in our next game, we should be close to 100% performance-wise and cohesion-wise. And I mean, cohesion-wise, I understand you have new players and maybe a new system, and it takes a couple of games to adapt, but it shouldn't take like 5 or 8 Premier League games. That's way too much. Um, but yeah, you mentioned the midfield, and we're gonna talk a little bit about Martin Zubimendi. Um, Besides the fact that he got elbowed in the face in the first 2 minutes, And when he got up, he said, "Okay, that's the Premier League. I'll be more aggressive." He got into a little bit of a tough challenge afterwards, and he was basically stopped by the referee. No, that's a foul. And he looked confused. The game where I was watching the game, they showed his face, and he was like, I don't know, like, should
I
I
remember
kick
that.
people or what? Yeah, whatever is going on. Is there anything that stood out for you in his game about the way he played?
Honestly, no, not at all. Like he was quite invisible, not in a bad way necessarily, but he just kind of did all the simple stuff right. Didn't really cause us any issues, but didn't really do anything stand out. And I think if that's, you know, the average Zubimendi display, great, because then a good Zubimendi display includes, some maybe long ball assists into Gyokeres or like line breaking passes through the middle and whatnot. But that wasn't. If you're expecting that in his first game, it's probably not going to happen. I think it's a really difficult position to debut in, right? Because you're the connector between the defense and the attack, and we're so used to playing with Partey, who's a completely different sort of player, and that was maybe where some of the passing out of the back went a little bit wrong and whatnot. But like, I'm not ready to start judging people based on one game away at Old Trafford, right? Like, it's just any score could have occurred yesterday, and anyone could have played out, had the best game of their life or the worst game of their life, and it maybe wouldn't have mattered. It's the first game of the season, so I'm really confident he's going to be maybe one of our players of the season. Like, he's an amazing player, so it'll work out.
I think your evaluation of him is good. I think he didn't stood out, but playing away from home to a very difficult stadium against a difficult opponent that are trying to fix themselves after the horrendous season they had last year, it's a tough place to go, and I thought he played well. Do you think he could be Arsenal's most important signing this season, more important than Gyokeres?
Ooh, that's a tough question. Ask me in a few weeks.
Yeah, yeah. You said he's the connection between the two, right? So if he can feed some balls to Gyokeres that he can put them away and score a couple of goals, he can add that to his game, because we know he can do that.
Well, he likes to play like quick passes forwards, right?
Yeah.
And that's exactly what we were missing yesterday, because we had. I don't know what to say about Odegaard, because he did good things and he did bad things. But the problem that Gyokeres had specifically, that he wasn't getting the ball to feet anywhere near the center of the pitch. So he was getting like played out wide, or he's getting over the top and he had to head it or whatever. He was just not getting any useful service, and there was lots of opportunity for that to happen, and it obviously just didn't happen. So he's making great runs over and over and over again, and no one's finding him. So I think Zubimendi has the ability to kind of solve that problem. Same with Martinelli. Like, if you're going to get Martinelli into the game, then you need someone who can like play a long diagonal ball or like line breaking pass through the midfield. And Zubimendi absolutely solves that problem. But yeah, we'll see what happens. It's going to take a while. Like, I posted about it recently. I just think it doesn't feel like much of a change of style, right? It feels like, oh, we got a striker, great. We can just sort of replace Havertz and he'll be better. Oh, we got Zubimendi. Oh, we'll replace Partey. But they're completely different players. They're the opposite of what we had before, like completely the opposite. You can't compare Havertz and Gyokeres. It's just not even in the same class of strikers, right? And yeah, it's going to take time to adapt, and I think we don't have time. That's the problem. Like, if we had more games in preseason, maybe that would have helped, or maybe we had a bit of a run up before we have to play. What is it? Liverpool, Forest, Man City, and whoever in a row, like Newcastle in a row.
Yeah.
Like, but you don't have time in the Premier League anymore. The top 10 teams could beat us on their day, right? Anyone could beat us on their day. So we just got to make it work. And the way we made it work on Sunday was scoring from a set piece, which
and thankfully we didn't play any of the top 10 teams. We played the team that finished.
It's even 16th, were they? Yeah,
I think 16th. Yeah.
Yeah, nice.
May they keep their habit. Okay, going. How really quickly, what did you make of Gyokeres' debut? Oh, you of course touched a little bit on this, but did he showed you enough to be encouraged, even if he didn't score?
Yeah, absolutely. Like, you don't just stop being a good player because you move from Portugal to England, right? Like, he's got plenty of goals in the Champions League, he's got plenty of goals in Portugal, etc. His movement was great. Like, if you just watched him in isolation, which is what I was kind of doing for a lot of the game, just watching the side of the screen and seeing where he was moving and what he was trying to do. Great movement, like, and if Odegaard had maybe released the ball a bit earlier, or like I said, Zubimendi played long balls, or Saka even, like, there's no chemistry at all between Gyokeres and anyone else on the pitch, and the only way to fix that is time. But he was occupying defenders, which is half the battle, right? Like, he had the centre backs on him the whole time, which we had shots from outside of the box in the centre of the pitch, which we don't really get that often, right? Because normally it's a completely crowded area, but Gyokeres is occupying two people. So Odegaard had an albeit pretty terrible shot from just outside the area in the centre, and Martinelli had a shot from there as well, which was even worse. But he's creating space, which is kind of step one. Step two is doing something with that space himself, but that requires the players around him to get the ball preferably to his feet, right? Because that's what he wants. He wants to like drive at defenders or pass them. But he's unbelievably fast. Like, I understand people were saying he was slow, watching him and thinking of him as like a slow player. His top speed at the weekend was like 31 kilometers an hour, right? Which is faster than Haaland. And people are saying, "Oh, Haaland's so quick." Like, no, he's incredibly quick. He was
for how tall he is, for how physical he is.
No, but even so, he's still. I think he's recorded the second highest top speed of any striker in the Premier League, who currently plays in the Premier League. So we've got the second fastest striker behind Haaland in the Premier League, and he's an absolute beast as well. So we need to make use of it. I don't think the players around him are used to that.
Yeah, he got at one point a good ball, but we're not going to talk about that because he kind of made a little bit of a mess out of it.
Yeah.
Probably, he got nervous. But we'll see. I do hope he scores. I kind of said that he's gonna score in the second half, because I made a recording after the first half, a couple of minutes, and after the second half. And in my first half recording, I said I do hope that in the next 20 to 25 minutes he'll score. The thing is, he didn't last it for 20 to 25 minutes because Mikel Arteta decided, hey, how about I change everything this season and I start doing subs very early? Do you think that was smart game management, or was it a little bit risky?
I think he's said this so many times in interviews recently, which is the best ability a player can have is being available in, what did he say, February, March, April, and May, right? So I think he's trying to rest players now as much as he possibly can, and we've got the options to do it now. And I think bringing Havertz on against Man United with 30 minutes to go when you're 1-0 up is a really good idea, because Havertz is going to take care of the ball, right? It's not going to be any risks, and he's got a good hold-up play and whatnot. Gyokeres obviously just wants to go and score, right? So if we're level or behind, Gyokeres is a great player to have on the pitch. If we're ahead, you don't really need him at that point, right? And I think that's why the fullbacks got changed, so Skelly could kind of take control of the midfield a little bit more than Calafiori was doing. And obviously, I think Timber came on as well, and kind of shored things up at the back. And yeah, it's sensible. It keeps players fresh, and it was also like tactically the right thing to do. And I expect to see probably almost an exact carbon copy of those substitutes in the position where we're 1 or 2-0 up in these big games, because it just makes more sense. It just gives you that kind of additional level of control.
And a little bit of risk because he changed both fullbacks and he brought on Miles Lewis-Skelly against Diallo is pretty tricky and pretty fast. So he took a risk there. And Miles Lewis-Skelly is a little bit, I don't want to say reckless, but he tends to get a little bit of a label for kind of the yellow card. So yeah, I think he got the yellow card. Miles Lewis-Skelly and Calafiori.
Pretty sure he did. Yeah.
And so that was, when I looked at it, I was like, okay, I understand Timber for White. Although, if you'd ask me, let's say in a game against Liverpool or Manchester City, I would be tempted to play White on the right and Timber on the left, to be completely honest. I would be tempted to do that. I think that would be our strongest option. Although Calafiori is a kind of a maverick and he likes a goal he scored against a smaller team a couple of days ago, but he likes a goal against Manchester City or the big boys.
Which you don't remember Miles Lewis-Skelly against Man City,
I remember that, but
both of them have scored worldies against him, so I don't think it matters,
Yeah. It's Timber's time to score, so
that is true.
Let's see how it goes. So let me. I mean, there's so much we can talk about. We started the Premier League away from home at Old Trafford, which is one of the toughest places to go. The atmosphere was really intimidating. To go out with 3 points and a 1-0 victory after Liverpool's and Manchester City's wins, I think it's massive. I'm really upset when Arsenal are playing poorly and they lose the game. I want them to lose the game. I don't want them to lose the game. I'm thinking, if you're losing the game, at least put up a performance, right? That's it. The opposing team was better, or they had better luck, or whatever else. But at least put in a performance. So I'm absolutely delighted with the win and the 3 points, especially because it's against Manchester City. Can we do a very quick round of quick-fire questions?
Let's do it.
Who was your man of the match?
I don't know. I don't think that was Raya.
Don't say Raya. Yeah,
it was definitely Raya.
Yeah. Why do you think it was Raya and not Calafiori? Calafiori scored the winning goal. Of course, Raya kept. He had some interventions that kept the score line the way it was. But why Raya, not Calafiori?
I think Calafiori scored a goal from 3 millimeters away from the goal. So if he hadn't touched it, it would have gone in anyway. So I'm not really putting much credit on him for that one. He basically stole it from Rice. I think Raya, it wasn't really the saves as such. It was how he was dealing with corners and whatnot. Like, obviously the Man United keeper had some issues with corners, whereas Raya was like big and strong and managed to just kind of deal with anything that was thrown at him. So I think if we had don't want to be that guy, but if Ramsdale was in goal, for example, we might have lost that game. Just because he's not got the same sort of presence or the strength.
Okay. I get it. Yeah. Raya makes sense. I selected Zubimendi in my instant game review because I thought that, away at Old Trafford, first game of the season, the Premier League, importance of the game, managing to keep a clean sheet, got elbowed in the face in the second minute, and he put in a decent performance, right? Not man of the match, but for me, coming on into such a aggressive kind of start to your life in the Premier League, Makes sense. One word to describe the performance?
Sloppy.
Okay, that's a good word. I would have gone for that as well. Yeah, I think we were a little bit sloppy. Hopefully, we'll get that out of the system as quickly as possible. I think seeing Mikel Arteta's press conference, you could see that he kind of felt the same way. He was happy about the result, but not about the performance.
Yeah.
Does this win tells us more about Arsenal or about Manchester United?
Arsenal, for sure.
Yeah.
We can win in kind of high stake scenario with the world against us, whilst playing like absolute garbage because we're so good at set pieces. We kind of knew that last season to an extent, but for it to continue and be such a reliable source of goals, even with all the new players involved, is great.
Yeah. I think you're right. We knew Manchester United were terrible and they continue to be so.
They are much better than they were last season. I will say that
Yeah.
they look much better than before. I was expecting to win, by a good few goals, and part of that is that we really didn't play very well, but also they did play quite well, right? To the point where their fans are celebrating the result to an extent on Twitter, which I find very odd. Like, there's a lot of fans saying, "Oh, we would have won if blah blah blah." And, they fouled the goalie. What's the point of all these new rules? Like they've come out of it like really happy, and Arsenal fans are like disappointed because we didn't play well. It's a very odd state of affairs, but I think it showed that we've still got the guts and we've still got the attitude and we've still got the kind of mentality for winning the league, hopefully, or at least competing.
I do believe that we're gonna put a good showing against Leeds. I do think that, and I mean Twitter is gonna be Twitter always, so you can't you can't have too many expectations there. Yeah, but whatever, man. I mean, hopefully we'll win all the games against Manchester United 1-0, so they can be happy about that. So
yeah, everyone's happy.
Okay. All right, Joe, thank you so much for being here. That's a wrap on today's episode of ArsenalAura. Huge thanks to Joe for joining me and sharing his thoughts. It's always great to get another perspective after a massive win, because it was a massive win. Arsenal are off to a flying start with 3 points at Old Trafford, but the focus quickly turns to Leeds at the Emirates this Saturday. We'll be back with more analysis and reactions as the season gets going. If you enjoyed this episode, guys, don't forget to like, subscribe, share, comment. Put in the comments who was your man of the match. Thanks again for tuning in, and as always, come on, you Gunners.